1, 2, 3. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer Ngomalo. I do hope that you stick around, and also please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, as it does help for YouTube to push my videos for more people to see. So on today's video, I'm going to be talking about the last credit card that I paid off last month. And when I say last month, in August, and I did talk about this in my monthly research, and it feels good. So I want to take you through basically the whole background of how I got the credit card, what was the installment, how was my behavior with the credit card, and then lastly we are going to cut the card. So please don't click out of this video just yet. At the end we are actually going to cut the card. I have the card right here, so we are going to chop it all off, because that is the practice right here. I did it, when was it, this year, beginning of the year sometime, when I actually paid off my other credit card from Capitec, and we cut the card. And at first I didn't understand what was the significance of actually cutting the credit card until I actually did it. And so I've been waiting. I closed this credit card last month, but I haven't cut the card, and I've been waiting for this day where I actually cut it with you guys, because the reason why I also want to do it here, the reason why I've been waiting, wanting to do it here, because I've actually understood from your comments how these videos have been inspiring for many of you to actually pay off your credit cards. Some you didn't have to close it, some you actually closed it. And so I figured that, you know what, let's keep the momentum. Since this is the last credit card, let us cut it together so that it can also motivate you as well. By the way, if you hear any hissing noise, any noise, someone sleeping, I have my daughter here sleeping. On my previous video, she was actually sitting and she was sneezing and all the stuff, but today she's sleeping, But so please don't mind any sounds, any weird sounds that are kind of offish that you kind of hear. So getting into the video, we are going to start by actually looking. I have my points here. I write out my videos, guys, so that I don't forget. Let's start first with why I opened the credit card. I think that is very important, because sometimes we may look at someone having so much debt and then we may judge them, but you don't know what is the reason. And so I'm going to actually take you through what was the reason for me to actually open the credit card in the first place. And it's not like anything big or serious. Okay, so I opened the credit card last year because mainly because I wanted to buy an iPad. Now, I had been filming on my phone and editing on my phone, and I felt like I needed to upgrade, but then I couldn't afford the upgrade. So I wanted an iPad, something that I could easily access wherever that I am. I can be in a bus, I can easily open my iPad and edit. And so I decided on buying an iPad a while ago, and I kept saying I'm gonna save for it. And then there were specials at iStore. I'm sure you guys who actually have some items from Apple, you know that normally they will have those random specials, and it's around this time of the year. So it was actually cheaper. Everything was kind of like cheaper, and so I decided that I really want an iPad, and this is the right time for me to buy it because it's way cheaper. So I decided to get a credit card. I got it from FNB, and the reason why I got a FNB credit card is because when I went to the iStore trying to buy, some of the options for payment was actually buying with the credit card from FNB, and if you do that, the interest rate will be very low, and it was indeed very low. So I decided to buy my iPad that way, and so I went and opened the credit card for 15,000 maximum, and then I bought my iPad. And the reason why I ended up being 15,000 is because even though the iPad was around 12,000, 11,000 was around 11,000, I had to buy the pen, which is like 2,500. I had to buy the cover, I had to buy all the accessories, and so I needed it to be over the amount that I actually needed just for the iPad. So that is how I ended up with the credit card. That is how I ended up with my second credit card. And when I opened this second credit card from FNB, I still had my credit card from Capitec that I was paying for, that I was struggling to pay for. Which brings me to my next point, which is what was my minimum installment. Now, my minimum installment for this credit card, as I said, because you are buying an Apple product, it came with a lower interest rate because there is that agreement between Apple and FNB. So when you buy an item using that credit card, using an FNB credit card, is actually lower in terms of how much you get to pay in actually also in overall. So I was paying, my installment was around 400, and that is very affordable. And the reason why it was around 400 is because I took a 24 months, it's a 24 months repayment period, but also more than that, the interest rate was very low, like it's around 7%. You don't see that in a credit card. You don't buy an item with a credit card and get to pay 7% of interest rates. My Capitec credit card at one point was on 25%. So this was the lowest interest rate that I paid on a credit card. And so I was paying 400 rands per month. I didn't really feel this installment. For me, it was just like a breeze. I really didn't care about it because my attention was actually dealing with the other credit card, and that's what I did. I focused more of my energy and my resources towards finishing the other credit card from Capitec, and I did just that. What was my behavior when it comes to the credit card? I think I'm just going to talk about this in overall, because I don't want to seclude it from each other, because I've had two credit cards, which now two of them have been fully paid. Now, I understood while I still had that credit card that I don't have good behavior when it comes to credit cards. So I can say that I know how to I can open a debt and I can pay it all. I can pay it. But when it comes to a credit card, because I constantly have access to this money, paying it off became a challenge. And the reason why it became a challenge is because as I was paying it off, I actually went back to use it, consistently. Like I would just, let's say for instance, I ran out of money. Maybe let's say I ran out of money for transport to go to work. I'm going to reach for my credit card and actually use the money in there. Let's say I ran out of food in this house. I reached out for my credit card many times for the smallest things, the most weirdest things, the things that I could have just, properly planned for. But because I knew that I had access to that money, I found myself running towards the credit card and just using it, And the last time I was using my FNB credit card is when I was just buying groceries from Pick and Pay ASAP, because it was just convenient to use my card that way. And I had promised myself that I was going to move money into it in order to deal with that balance that I had just used. But I never did that. I never got to that point. And that's the behavior that I'm talking about. The issue of just staying disciplined, being able to be disciplined and say, you know what, I'm not going to use this money. This money is not mine. I'm not going to use this card. And so even though I know that many people will say, no, I didn't close my credit card, I never carry a negative balance, which is very good, because it's very important to understand your behavior and how you act around debt. I know for a fact that that's not me. I'm not one to have a credit card and not use it. I'm not one to constantly have a positive balance on my credit card. I'm just not one. No matter how much money, no matter even if I can plan my other things, because I had shifted my budget drastically, that I knew how to properly plan for the month, to play for each and every week, that I really didn't need to use my credit card. But why did I use it? Okay, fine that I've used it, then why not pay it back immediately after using it, And so it's all those small things which are very important that you pay attention to when it comes to your particular behavior. So before you think about, okay, maybe I should close this debt, let me do this, try to understand what are your issues with it, what is your behavior towards it, and if it's a negative behavior that you really cannot control yourself with, then cut that out of your life. That is why I've actually finished paying off my credit card and actually cut them, close them, because I really don't need that temptation in my life. Now, how did I pay off this credit card? Now, remember, my minimum installment was 400, and for a while I was paying 400, and then I realized 400 is something that I could afford to pay back, and so I decided to up it up to 600. So for the longest time I was paying around 600, 800, 600, 800, and then this year After I finished all of my other debts, I then bumped it up to actually 1,000. And so I started paying 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, and that will help me somehow. However, as I said, my behavior, I constantly went back to actually use my credit card. And I want to emphasize this point, because even though I had good financial practices where I budget, now I was budgeting for each and every week, but I still found myself using the credit card. Not that I needed the money, but because it was just so convenient. And so I actually decided that I bumped up my installments, but many times I'll still go back and use some of that money. And so it's like I'm moving forward, but I'm not moving forward. I'm moving forward and backwards. Every time I take a step forward, I also take a step backwards. And that is not good practice if you're really serious about getting out of debt. And so I decided to actually, when I got a payout for one of my savings, which I did talk about in one of my videos. So I had savings that I had been putting aside for my daughter specifically. So when I actually canceled that policy, I actually used the majority of that money to pay off the balance that was on my credit card. I did that, and that's how I actually pushed it, because if I had continued to save with installments, I was still going to continue with my bad financial behavior. That is why in one of my videos that I talked about when it comes to paying off a credit card, I said you will rather pay the minimum installment, and then whatever additional amount that you think that you can afford to pay in the credit card, don't put it in there. If you know that you have bad behavior when it comes to credit card, bad behavior such that the money that you pay in there you use within a month. So you rather take that extra amount and actually save it aside. So you can save it to like time bank. Then once it has accumulated to the amount that you need to pay off the credit card, you take that money, you put it in your credit card, and then you close it. Because saying that you're going to pay installments and then still add the additional amounts while knowing that you have bad behavior when it comes to your credit card, it's not gonna help you. You're gonna feel like a hamster. You're pedaling around in the same area. You're not moving forward, you're not moving backwards, you're just busy pedaling around in the same area. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. And that was where I am. That is why I ended up taking those savings in order to pay off this credit card. So the last part of this video is actually me cutting off this credit card. This feels so surreal. Anyway, so this is the card right here. It was the Premier credit card, and it had my name, and there you can see it says Premier credit card, if you can read there. So we are going to cut this card. Why does it feel so weird when the account is not even there anymore? 1, 2, 3. Let's go. There's no turning back now. I'm cutting. Ooh, okay. This one is hard. Ooh, okay. Yes. Okay. There we go. Where is it? There we go. It is official. It is official. The card has been cut. It's done. It's done. Officially, it is done. We have dealt with this debt, and we have closed it, and we have cut the card. For me, cutting the card, I also wanted to talk about how do I feel about this. For me, cutting the card, it resembles cutting something off in my life that was not positively serving me. Even though I got a good iPad, that is how I'm able to film these videos. By the way, I film from my iPad instead of my phone, and then I edit on my iPad. So me cutting the card, paying it off and then cutting the card, for me, it also resembles freedom. And also how I feel about it is I feel good. I feel good. I feel a sense of accomplishment. I feel like I pushed myself and I disciplined myself, because guys, even though I use those savings to pay off the credit card, let us be honest, some people can easily take that money, put it in, and not actually action the idea of actually going the extra mile of closing the credit card and keep the money there, and then tell themselves that they're going to be disciplined enough not to actually use it, but then they'll end up using it. Or they will take the savings and actually decide there are far better important things to do in their lives instead of paying off the debt. And so I don't want to take that lightly. And I've actually been telling that I was talking about this with my colleague, that I feel like everything that I do in my life, I take it so lightly and I downplay it, that I don't fully celebrate it. I don't fully acknowledge how significant it is. And so I kind of just swift through life, and then that on its own make me feel like it makes life uninteresting. And so I really don't want to take this lightly. I don't want to take this lightly, and you know what? I'm not going to take it lightly. I really want to start celebrating the small milestone, the big milestone that I actually do in my life. So with that being said, you guys, anyway, let me just reiterate this point. I feel good. I'm happy that I actually finished this credit card. I'm also grateful for the financial decisions that I made early on in my life, because it was for those financial decisions that I was able to tap into those savings and close this credit card. And also I'm grateful that I was disciplined enough to actually tell myself that I'm going to close it and I'm not going to go find myself back there. Right now, guys, the way that I'm so scared of debt, I want it to stay that way. I'm not scared in a negative way. It's like I don't want to find myself there again, and so I'm going to keep the momentum. I'm not saying that I'm never going to have open another debt in my life. Life may throw me in those trenches, but at least now I know better and I can plan better. Make sure that whatever debt that I find myself into, besides my home loan, whatever other debt that I find myself into, it is aligned with how much I get paid, and I know that I can afford it, and I know that it makes sense. Well, all of my debts, they make sense to me anyway. So with that being said, thank you so much for actually indulging me and watching this video. I truly appreciate it. To anyone who is actually in a journey of paying off their credit card, I wish you all the best. You can do it. So I'm gonna close off this video right here and say thank you so much. Until I see you on the next one, please take care and stay safe. Bye.